So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. We are here again, another week to study the book Alert, written by the Spirit Joanna de Angelis through the psychography of Divaldo Pereira Franco. And we are today on we are going to study lesson 24. We've been doing that for 24 weeks already, which is great, right? And let me just open everything that I will need for for us today. Hello, Sarida. How are you doing?
How will you decide? I'm fine.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Okay. So, lesson 24, peaceful reaction. There are days of imbalance. Fear galvanizes humankind. The wave of crimes grows continuously. However, the aggressiveness and violence that dominate the concerns of today. Mute. The concerns of today. Sorry, I was doing something. However, the aggressiveness and violence that dominate the concerns of today's world, despite their external causes, have in human beings themselves the flavor of the culture in which they terrifyingly develop. Specialists of the many different branches of knowledge try to deter the effects of violence that bursts indulgently everywhere by submerging consideration and thought in the causes of social economic, social political, social cultural, psychological factors, and of other types. In truth, selfishness is the abundant producer of evil that afflicts earth. As a result, Jesus' gospel, lived by Spiritism and Spirit and Truth, is an antibody of resolve to the virulent calamity that threatens today's social structures. Okay, so Joana de Angelis is giving an overview, basically, of what we are going through today. When she talks about those are days of extremely unbalanced, of fear, of crimes. And when she talks about crimes, she's not talking about, us going out and killing someone. She's talking about, everything that goes against the law of God. So everything that we could say that is a wrongdoing, all the wrongdoings that we have here, uh, but that includes obviously, the violence, aggressiveness, everything. We have in our society today many people involved in trying to understand all of that. So we have people, scholars in the different areas of education, for instance, trying to understand this from a financial, sociological, uh, problems of ethnicity, psychological. They try to understand what is the root of all that. And she's putting it here quite simply. She's saying the root of all that is selfishness. And the only thing that counteract that is actually the living and experiencing of Jesus' gospel. So all the imbalances, everything, the fears, everything that we are going through is a result of a level of selfishness that we all possess. Comments, questions?
It's interesting to note that so much of what goes on today in terms of violence seems to be associated with sociological activities. And the undertone seems to be still things from the distant past that aren't acknowledged or acted upon, both on the local and national scale. And I'm just talking about the United States because I don't see what's happening in other countries. But
Mm-hmm.
so much of what we see going on in demonstrations for improvement and the harassment from some of the police of the peaceful demonstrators. That seems to be part of the real problem.
It's, it's like a snowball. One thing leads to another, all the frustrations we have for whatever reason, because we didn't have the education we wanted to have, because our parents didn't care for us, or they were never there, not present, or it's because, I lack money, or it's because I have too much money, all of that, and this makes, my parents not available because they are always very busy. This is what happens sometimes when people are too rich, they don't have time for the family. So all of that impacts us, impacts our formation and how we deal with all of this, in a way that is going to backfire somehow.
Mm.
And this is what she's saying here, right? And then you can have excuses. You may say, oh, I was born in the wrong country, in the wrong race, in the wrong gender, in the wrong, is everything building up, only because we have a very limited perspective of everything. And basically, which is not, we are not saying here that is not normal, but depending on how we do it, to just think about our own well-being can be very selfish, in a way, depending on how we position ourselves in the world. Like, I want to go this way. I don't care what happens to others, and even if I have to, to get rid of others along the way. So this is what she's telling us here. And on top of that, our extreme worry about having, um, the appreciation of the world, or being successful according to the world view, the material view. All of that gets in the way of putting us in a very fragile emotional state. And sometimes, I imagine that this is one of the reasons that they say many people believe that uh, people that live a simpler life, they are happier than we are. And I'm saying simpler life in the way of, uh, people that live in countries that you have the community, you have the tribes, or uh, because in a way they are not yet feeling that pressure that we that live more in a world of civilization is are feeling. And this is something that sometimes say, well, they are happier, they are more evolved than we are. Not necessarily. We find people in different degrees of evolution among the primitive peoples of earth, and the ones that are civilized, that we call the civilization because they live in cities, etc. It's the spirit that matters, nor not exactly where you live, But this is one thing, this constant pressure that we have to succeed according to the worldview, and not thinking too much about to sorry, the
That's-
spiritual view.
It's interesting.
The spiritual view.
It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting, this conversation about civilization. I sometimes get the feeling we're less civilized in the more advanced economies because we are, so many of us are compelled to advance ourselves over others. Because I know that my experience of life, especially when I was younger as a kid, was always clouded by, why are these people doing these things? Why do people stop me on the street and tell me things that aren't true? Why do they, why are some people so aggressive with people they don't know? I know there's the possibility of something happening in a previous life, but there are too many of them that just don't make sense.
Yeah. And I mean, the different needs, because also when you live like, in a community, you have to rely on each other to survive.
Hmm.
So you have to establish different degrees of relationship. When you live in a more civilized place, maybe you don't feel that need. And so, again, one thing has nothing to do with the other. The involvement of the spirit, it was not distributed by the address that you live, right? You may live in Fifth Avenue, Park Avenue, those uh, very chic addresses of New York City, or you may live in a tribe in Africa, and it's still the one in the tribe in Africa is more evolved than the one in the Fifth Avenue building, right? So it has nothing to do. It's always in relation to the spirit, but a certain lifestyle may help us to at least to try to counteract. But the thing is, what is really inside of us? And this is what Joanna de Angelis is trying to say here. Because one thing is, okay, I'm going to get along well with my neighbor because I need my neighbor. Or, well, since I don't need my neighbor, I couldn't care less about what is going to happen. And if it gets in my way, I will discard this person for my life. So that there is the difference of how we are truly, in our inner selves.
But that's
So
only
this is
because
what
we
she's,
think that way.
yeah,
That's only
and
because,
this is why she's saying it's only through the gospel, in the sense, again, when we talk about the gospel, we're not talking about religiosity, about dogmas. We are talking about lessons. We are talking about examples, about guidelines that will help us to live well in the world. Go ahead, Philip, please.
yes, when I look at our society and the events, the daily events, think about a fire in a house that injures or kills people. It's not just that house that's affected. The adjoining houses also may be caught in that fire. And when they are,
Mm-hmm.
it's a community activity that's
Mm-hmm.
affected. But people seem to think that if I only focus on my place or my things, I'm okay. And that's not true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So let's read a little bit more. Do not add to the volume of current imbalances the reactions that reflect internal unrest. establish guidelines for inner peace by effort of prayer and sacrifice as a way to minimize the distressing problems. Avoid pernicious commentaries and do not spread harmful information. Extinguish the fire of rage with the water of resignation. Soothe your personal anxieties to isolate you from despair. The server of Christ on earth, the server of Christ is on earth for the admirable service of creating harmony amongst all. If assaulted, do not attack back. If cornered, do not lash back, but persist. If suffering, do not promote revolt, but overcome it. A posture of peace becomes a vehicle of optimism, preciously contributing to the change of landscape in the agony of the presence. So now is Joanna de Angelis saying, because we are giving too much importance to the self, right? Because you said the problem is a selfishness. Everything that happens to us, around us, we take it as personal. It's hurting myself, my ego, right? So here she's inviting us to try to find measures that could contribute for us not to be that much enveloped in this negative energy. And of course, the first thing that she says is prayer. Prayer, again, not because we are going to be repeating memorized prayers that we've been hearing for, so many incarnations and even in this one as well, but as a way of putting ourselves in communion with God, in communion with the Creator. Sacrifice in a way because she's inviting us here to how do I say that in English? Abafar, to Andrea, are you there? To
is that minimum?
Not to me, yeah, that would be something like that, to minimize, a way to minimize, she's saying here, but to not give ourselves to this other situation that she says, when we are being assaulted, when we are suffering, from any kind of harm, when attacks, whatever. Basically, our reaction is going always to be a reaction that is not going to add anything, and much less add anything good to us. That's why she's saying, avoid yourself, be enveloped in this energy, negative energy that surround us. So sometimes we may say, oh no, just a little gossip is no problem. It is, energy that we are surrounding ourselves, and inviting energies that think alike to come as well. So here, that's why she's saying, don't get involved in this vibe, you see. And sometimes this is where the sacrifice comes, because it is still not in our nature to go and comment and participate in a conversation of things that are happening wrong, and that we know that are wrong, and we feel like, putting more fire putting more wood in the fire, right? So this is what she's trying to say here. Try to dominate yourself, and this is what is sacrifice. When I'm overtaken by this rage or anxiety. I just wanted to explode. And she say, no, this is where the sacrifice, control yourself, be in control, right? Look for harmony. Try not to respond in the same level of energy that other people are, throwing at you. I heard recently, I heard a few times, but I have forgotten about the story, that there was, a group of monks, uh, and I think they were talking about Eastern monks, and yogis, something like that. And there was one, of course, that because of his moral position was the one that was more respected and in a higher position in that community. But there was one of them that was not happy with that. He wanted that place for himself. And so he devised a plan to trick that, monk, that he had ambition to take his place. So when there was a meeting with all those monks, they decided, he decided to come and to give a present to this monk. And so we wrapped up as a present a lot of bad things, excrements, dirty, all of that, and he put it in the package and wrapped it up and gave it to the monk. So because he wanted to see the reaction that he was anticipating from the monk, that he was going to say, and now I'm going to see him enraged, and people will see that he's not as special as people think he is. So when he comes there and offered the present to the monk said, "Oh, my son, my child, thank you so much, but I do not deserve a present. So I wish you to keep this present for yourself." And he doesn't open the package. So the moral of the story is that we are not obliged to accept the bad that the world throws at us. And I mean, this is what Joanna de Angelis is inviting us to do here. See, I don't deserve that. He said, I don't deserve that. You keep it to yourself. Actually, he didn't deserve what was in the package. And you keep it to yourself if you want to, right? So, I mean, and there was something else in the story, but I always thought that this story was so beautiful because, I mean, it is up to us to accept what the world is throwing at us or not, and to maintain calm and to maintain optimism.
Yeah,
And
it's interesting that when the world offers us something, we should consider whether it really should be given to us or not.
mm-hmm.
And I think that's a beautiful lesson because that allows you to decide for yourself whether you should be held on a pedestal or if you're just one of the people, maybe with a little more advancement. And thus to not accept the present, but to ask the person to keep it for themselves and honor themselves for having thought of giving you a present.
And even when we think about that simple phrase like that, if life offers you lemon, make a lemonade. Okay.
Right.
Even when we think about that, even when we are getting, something that is not pleasant per se, there is something good that we can reap from that if we do not stay in this attitude, as you say, of just thinking about the ego, of thinking about how this is attacking me personally, deserving or not deserving. So it is there. It is what we have for the moment, and we have to take the best out of it without going through a confrontation and rebelliousness, because it's not going to help in any way. Anything else?
Like
Yes, Sonia.
2 weeks ago, then I answered someone with the speak loud reaction with explode. And then I feel so bad after things because in my mind, oh, I fail. I should not did things. And then I cry a lot, pray, and be calm. And then after I pray, it's like open some lights in my mind. Then I can see how should I reaction differently in that situation. And then when she start to talk about this, then my conscience, oh my goodness, was so heavy about my failed attitude 2 weeks ago. Then because of this, if we are learning every day and continue to fail, and we have all tools in our life to behave differently, why we are expecting for the others who are hungry, not have the opportunity to learn this nice lesson, don't even read the gospel in their life, reaction different.
Yeah, that's
And
true, Sonia. But sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
start with ourselves, inside
Yeah.
ourselves.
You see, this is how you explain. The more we learn, and the more we will be capable of dealing with our actions and reactions. Uh, because of course we are far from being, you know, perfect, right? Uh, we will have those things that just happen to you, like you said. But the more awareness we have, like you said, afterwards you felt so bad. I'm sure you were thinking to yourself, I don't want to feel that again. So next time the opportunity presents for you to have a similar reaction, your body, your mind is already going to sound an alarm saying, "Hey, wait! Do you remember last time what happened?
Yeah.
Do you really want to feel this way again?" And so the more this happens, and it makes us feel bad, because it, at this point, thank God, right? It makes us feel bad. It's progress already, right? The more we will be able to not repeating it, not repeat it. But it's hard. Like we always comment here, there are situations and there are people that somehow they really go to our Achilles heel, right? They know where, to pull our cord and lead us to those kind of reactions that it is still part of us, but we don't want them to be there anymore.
Yeah.
Let's read a little more. So harmonize yourself with Jesus and scatter hope, building your strength against evil. Experience lessons of trust. slowly transforming the environment in which you find yourself situated. Do it by peaceful resistance to the wave of necessary trials humanity needs to live through at this moment of historical transition. So she's inviting us here to go and spread hope, to try to harmonize us with the teachings of Jesus that is going to help us to be able to deal with all the negativity that are around. And little by little, we will see that we will be transforming even the environment we are. We can feel in our homes that because of what we are doing, we have more peace in the house. We have, all of those things that helps us more, right? And peacefully, we will be going through the necessary trials that we have to go in order to finally pass through this transition that our planet, our brothers and sisters, all of us are going through. So there is no other way. Yes, comments, questions.
I believe, Usada, that everything that she explains here is so relevant in our lives today. It's it's something that keeps us going. We go through this, especially now that what we're experiencing. Uh, with what we've learned here in Spiritism has showed us the way. Uh, I, and just like Joanna de Angelis says, you have to be aware and alert of everything that goes around, happens in our lives. If you go to sleep and you turn on the news and all you see is negative. You get up in the morning, you turn on the news, it's negative. So we've learned to kind of, you know, uh, change our ways. There's things that we have to do in order to change and in order to react peacefully, like she is telling us here. If we don't have these uh, steps, there is no way. I mean, it'll take centuries for us to get there, and it usually does. But with these beautiful steps that she gives us, and we have to continue on in this path, and we can't. If you if you kind of fall into so-called trap of society, there's good and bad, but you have to be alert, and we're so grateful for all that has been giving us in order to understand that we have to do it for ourselves. And if we continue at least uh, praying and studying, all this comes into play. And one day you just see and you say, gee, it's not as bad as uh, we think. And it's not. I surely have gone through a lot, and I see light and the end of the tunnel. I see it. But, we have to work at it. It doesn't come to you. You have to work at it. And then, like we always say, the baby steps, slowly do
Yeah.
it. But we have to be alert. We have to understand what's going on around us and not let us be entrapped with this lessons that we're going through in life, because everything that we're going through, yeah, it's difficult, but in a way it's good. We have to change ourselves, and this is one way of doing it. uh, all this trauma we're going through, we have to look at the brighter side. I know it's difficult for many people that are going through it, but don't give up, and understand we're here for a purpose, and is to work. Through this work, pray and have faith. And we put all this in this beautiful, we say, ingredients that we use in life. Great. And thank God we have this. Thank God for Joanna de Angelis and all that are inspiring us.
Let's read the last paragraph, last part. Selfishness is a powerful enemy against everyone. All should turn themselves against self interest with energetic and decisive disposition. By engraving the blessings of charity in one's soul, all the perturbing factors that affect humankind will be overcome, and violence and aggressiveness will be banned from earth in a definite manner. Surrender yourself, therefore, to Jesus and in his trust, not doing to others what you would not like done unto yourself. So, why is she inviting us here to charity? Because it's the opposite of selfishness. When we really dedicate ourselves or to the well-being of others, and this, like we always talk about, it can be achieved in so many different ways, right? It's not just by praying or just by giving money or doing both. I mean, it's so many ways that we can do that. But just when we have a genuine worry, compassion towards our brothers and sisters, we are little by little reading ourselves from, selfishness. Of course, it is still, you can be charitable already, and it is still be there, okay, selfishness. But each time more, it will be uh, less and less the more we march on the opposite direction. And this is what she's saying here. When we realize that my well-being depends on the well-being of others, I'm going to be more active in promoting the well-being of others as well, or at least not just to be thinking about myself, knowing that so many others would depend on uh, our assistance and presence as well. So this is what is very important for us to think about here, and that's why she ends this chapter by saying the golden rule: do to others what you want others to do to yourself. It is that simple. But it seems that when it's time for us to act, we don't think like this. Our reactions are still different somehow. But like she proposes here in this lesson that is called peace, it's related to peace, to our reactions of peace, to promote peace. There is no other way. There is no other way than to, in a way, sympathize with the situations of others. Because even when we are suffering aggression from people, if we start looking from their perspective, uh, like I say, sometimes we would say, oh my God, if I were experiencing life, everything that this person experienced, I don't know if I would be as good as this person is right now. you know, Even saying it is bad, it's doing something bad, but he would say, I would be so much worse, right? So that's what we have to do. And nobody's saying it's easy,
Mm-mm.
but I thank you so much, Sonia, for sharing this example that happened to you, because this is the goal, that more and more we will really feel in ourselves that this is not the right way of doing things. If we want peace, if we want happiness, if we want truly feel that we are working in this, in the direction that we want of having a more spiritual view of things, and to become each time more evolved.
Yes, and then when she mentioned harmonize with Jesus, then it's amazing when I was in that situation, and after things I pray, and it's like open in my mind. We really need to behave different as a charity. This when I talked about things, why afflict you so strong, then behave as a child for the others, like be quiet, understand the others not ready yet, as myself in that situation. And it's so true when you call about Jesus and remember all those words and try to practice, you immediately feel the blessing in our heart.
Perfect. Any more comments or questions? No. So let's see next. Well, what are we going to do next week? Should we have our meetings or not? Today we were only 6.
Oh, yeah.
It's up
But
to you.
that's fine. I mean, that's fine. We can go ahead and do. I'll be here. I can do it.
I'll be here.
I'll
I can
Be here.
Okay.
I'll be here.
Okay. So let's do it. Okay. So next week, words of incentive.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful.
That's a good one. That's a good one before New
New
Year's
Year.
Eve. You know, to think about being with having motivation to do more and to
Yeah.
do what we have to do, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful to see you all. So let's ask
Yeah.
Philip to do our final prayer for today. So I'll see you next week.
Okay.
see you next week.
Next week.